If you're just joining us again, this is Weather Overtime. We keep track of the weather in and around southeast Tennessee, north Georgia, northeastern Alabama, and western North Carolina. Thanks to everybody for joining us on Twitch and YouTube. And if you're just tuning in, want to hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe for more information. We try to do these every single weeknight, depending on the weather conditions. So if you've never been here before, welcome to the show. If you've got questions about what's going on with the weather, we'll try to answer what we can. Friday nights, we usually take kind of a shorter amount of time because of the recording that has to happen at about 10 o'clock in the studio. So we're only on for a short amount of time for this evening. Let's take a look at one more camera here and see what's going on. Want to see how traffic is going at 2475, and not bad for right now. Matter of fact, pretty light for a Friday night. The lights are still off thanks to, I think, construction going on. You can barely see the lights of Lookout Mountain or Signal Mountain off in the distance, and plenty of haze and humidity overhead. Going to be seeing some sultry conditions for a while. 76 at the airport, again down from a high of about 93. Dew point way up there at about 73, so we've got a very, very sultry evening across much of the area. We did manage to pick up, both from the Sahara Desert and from the wildfires out west, a decent amount of atmospheric irritants, again, out across portions of the area. Most of this is wildfire smoke, but a small portion of this is from the Saharan dust layer, and that is what has been moving through the area today, including the Tennessee River Valley, worse across the southern Mississippi Delta, and that is what did a very good job of tanking our air quality earlier this afternoon. Down across Georgia and eastern parts of Alabama, the air quality was at a code red unhealthy level, but for right now it seems to have dropped a little bit. It's not perfect, and it's a good possibility we're going to be seeing more potential of dust over into the rest of the weekend. We'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. We got a special weather statement for Bradley and Polk counties from this one storm as of about 10:20 p.m. Eastern between Benton and Ducktown, right over Archville, to the east of Parksville and south of Hambright. That's where we're seeing the worst of the lightning activity. We have seen some of these storms become a little bit stronger. This one appears to be holding steady for now, but it does not appear to be anything in the way of severe weather potential on that, so good news there. We also had a decent amount of some storms, these over toward just right outside of Grundy County, where we have a special weather statement shaping up for that area. Mainly just heavy rain, possibly some gusty winds, 40 to 50 miles per hour, not out of the question here. Let me stop that for just a second and run that back for a minute. Some possibility of half-inch size hail or less. Doesn't look like a tornadic threat at this time, and so far that storm also appears after a brief intense flare-up between Shelbyville and Manchester in south middle Tennessee. Most of what we're looking at appears to be holding steady as it goes into northwestern Grundy County, right back and over the area of Chattanooga itself. Again, we have had some of those showers and thunderstorms move on through, giving us the potential of some heavy rainfall. It wasn't fun driving on some of that because the intense amounts of rainfall was causing visibility to drop, and a pretty good flare-up of lightning right around Red Bank, Hickson, into around the area right upriver from downtown, toward about the area of Island Cove Marina and Resort. But now, as of about 10:20, we have no lightning, no new lightning strikes, but we do have a little bit more. Looking back across north of the river, we've got that new area of showers developing, and that might begin to break out into some active thunderstorms possible. Now, beyond that, into northern Georgia, some showers around Dalton. Really just, again, not much more than that for right now, so that's pretty quiet. Upwards of around Dayton, if you're in that area of Bledsoe and Ray counties, you've got a thunderstorm moving into northwestern Bledsoe County in the News 12 viewing area, back around Pikeville. That one showing a slim possibility of some hail, some pretty decent amounts of rain with that, so Cold Spring, Cooper Mill, Pikeville, West End and Garin Heights. Summer City, you're going to be running into that. Morgan Springs about 10:50 p.m., so about a half an hour as that goes across the timeline there. So expecting some heavy rain and could be some slow travel on State Highway 27, so something to take a look at if you are going to be traveling. All right, that's enough for the analysis. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what's going on out there. We've got some good news in the sense that we've got a cold front on the way through, moving its way through into the weekend. That front is also what is helping to trigger off some of these showers and thunderstorms taking place. But into the next couple of days, that front, as it makes its way southward, will escort in some drier air, but that's not necessarily good news for us because of the fact that it's bringing in more wildfire smoke from western Canada and the northwestern United States, where several thousand acres of wildfires are uncontained and burning out of control. So as long as that is going on and the pattern is the way that it stays, hopefully in the next couple of days, we may see some very hazy conditions as that wildfire smoke gets a little bit closer to us. Now, the good news for tonight, thunderstorms, yes, severe weather south of Birmingham back over to around portions of east central Mississippi, so not much there. For Saturday, a thunderstorm or two, and again, mainly in the central and western, eastern parts of the News 12 viewing area, moving from west to east. That severe weather threat, a marginal threat, goes well out of our area. And then the Storm Prediction Center, this forecast is several hours old, so I'm not seeing anything in the way of anything major taking place. It's a good possibility that this will be removed in the day 3 forecast for Sunday in the next forecast update coming up at about 2 o'clock in the morning. So we may see a thunderstorm or two on Saturday. I'm really not expecting anything at this time for Sunday. We have no heat alerts, as temperatures in the next couple of days will be kind of dropping down a little bit, but we're not done with the heat, as the Climate Prediction Center is still showing us with the potential of some problems with some above normal temperatures coming through. So that, again, could be a bit of a problem. The haze over the next few days is going to be, again, coming our direction. A good portion of the northern half of the United States, from California all the way up into the Virginias and the Carolinas, is showing us a decent amount of smoke. And unfortunately, as we go into the next several hours, we might catch a bit of a break early Saturday afternoon, but then another plume of smoke over the Great Lakes drops down our direction. So we will be looking for the potential of even more smoke heading our way, and that could make for a hazy weekend. Hopefully that'll remain several thousand feet up. It won't translate down to the ground and give us the potential of any problems with visibility, but it is a possible problem out there. So again, I would pay close attention to what's going on with local air quality websites, and if you have emphysema, asthma, lung ailments, heart ailments, I would pay very close attention to what might be coming our direction, because for right now, the possibility of getting even more wildfire smoke is going to be sticking around. Local wildfires, you can see some of the plumes around here, but then that thicker amount of plume comes down from the north, and that is where we may see that overspill of smoke in our area here in the News 12 viewing area into the weekend. Again, I think most of that's going to be several thousand feet up. Hopefully that won't be a problem on the ground, but that is something, of course, naturally we'll be keeping our eyes on. So if you have any need to get outside, I would consult and see. EPA's got a great website called Air Now, which might come in very handy to take a look at through the weekend, just to be on the safe side there. We were watching some got some lightning out there right now on the Island Cove Marina and Resort camera. This should be, along with tomorrow, pretty much the last we should see of rain and thunderstorms in the semi-near future. So we should be seeing a week full of sunshine with a few clouds during the day. Can't rule all of that out, but the chances of rain as we go through Saturday and into the rest of the weekend there's really not that much left over out there. So the chances of rain to cool us off, so to speak, are not going to be helping us out with humidity naturally. But we also see the potential of temperatures going from below normal on Saturday to the lower to mid 90s as we go throughout the rest of the week, including some high 90s out there. Again, it's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. There's no question about that. But it is also not going to be record-breaking hot temperatures, triple digits, and that's pretty much where you have to be to break a record these days, is 100 degrees plus. So right now that does not look to be occurring, but that does look like some very uncomfortable conditions for working or exercising outdoors. So I would be very cautious. Anybody who's keeping an eye on the weather for football, soccer, baseball, softball, two-a-days, anybody who's keeping an eye out for marching band practice, that golf game, going camping for one last round of vacation before you head back to school pretty soon, I would watch the weather very carefully. You've got the heat and humidity to worry about at the very least. If we start seeing the rain and thunderstorms come back, that could cause an extra problem. And remember to try to make certain you keep tuned to your weather app to make certain that you notice where and when the lightning is coming your direction so you can wrap things up and head back indoors again. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the tropics for right now. If you haven't, some very good lightning out that direction. If you haven't been monitoring this in the last few days, this was a disturbance about 72 hours ago, a minor disturbance. Somehow, and we haven't had a confirmation of this computer program is putting that big D on the screen showing it's become a tropical depression. We have no indication from the National Hurricane Center that that has actually occurred. So for right now, it is still just an area of low pressure tracking over the island of Cuba. But two things to notice about this: we're getting a lot more development of showers and thunderstorms around that area, and we are secondly seeing a little bit more of a spin at this time, which means by tomorrow we could be looking at a tropical depression, possibly even a tropical storm. Now the winds, not a problem for tonight where it comes to tropical storm status, but we are getting closer at that point to be able to watch this system. And here's where we're running into the problems, to where if you haven't heard about this in the last couple of days, the latest track of this storm, the conventional weather wisdom, using all these models put together to form what are called quote-unquote spaghetti models for obvious reasons. This takes it, at least most of these models take it right through the area between Cuba and Florida around the Keys and up into the east central areas of the Gulf of Mexico. Now that puts it just east or just west of Tampa St. Pete by about early Sunday morning. And then the system curves over the area around Florida and starts to head back toward the Atlantic. That is Monday evening. That takes it up and through and right along the Carolina coastline. Now, some of these models are taking the storm pretty much due northwestward. Some of them are curving it back out into the Bahamas before heading back north again. But the majority of these models are heading it up across West Florida, across Florida, then Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. So what does that have to do with anything? Well, for right now, the main threat is going to be a good possibility of some very, very heavy amounts of rainfall. And we're talking 5, possibly around 10 inches in localized areas right off the coastline. So this thing, as it spins, again, remember, air around low pressure rotates counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. So this could bring a lot of rainfall onshore to Florida, both coastlines, down toward the Keys, and then shoveling a lot of moisture up toward the Outer Banks, South Carolina, coastal Georgia. Could be picking up a decent amount of this. Now, partly the reason we're telling you about this is just to give you an idea as to what's going on with the weather in general, but we also want you to be informed that if you're planning a trip south of the Panhandle anytime soon, you may not want to be there as this storm arrives, as we have tropical storm watches and warnings up for portions of western Florida and down toward the Keys. And also, again, this is about a day or so old, but several counties in Florida have been declared by the state of Florida government under a state of emergency as this storm approaches. Now, I get emails from time to time from people who say, oh, that's ridiculous. The state of emergency is for civil riots or for World War III or something like that. No, for emergency planning purposes, in order to get all of your ducks in a row before a storm happens, if a declaration of a state of emergency is issued, that means that local managers, local government, anybody in medical and law enforcement can get things ready to go, get organized schedules set up, get information about logistics and supplies and scheduling people for various locations, making certain emergency facilities are ready to go. So that is why the state of Florida has declared a state of emergency for right now. It is more than just for use in things like civil unrest and things of that nature. It can be used for a variety of things, and right now is the perfect time to do something like this. So again, we will be looking at the potential for some problems with this storm as it curves up this direction, and this could change in the next several days. In fact, I would be surprised if it didn't change coming up. But here's the other thing we want to concentrate on that is really starting to get very worrisome. Taking a look at this temperature gauge, the legend up here, anything over 80 degrees Fahrenheit on water temperatures, or SSTs, or sea surface temperatures, is where you see that water vapor from the warmer waters supplying those storms with more fuel, more energy, more potential for problems. And what we saw, I believe it was Ian last year around southwest Florida, and Otis in the Pacific, where you had what was called RI, rapid intensification. Well, this from earlier, notice the temperatures here are not even in the lower 80s, they're in the mid to high 80s. And from earlier tonight, from Scripps Oceanography Institute, at a buoy here just south of the mouth of the Mississippi River, the water temperature was recorded, not the air temperature, but the water temperature was recorded at 95 degrees. That is super, super hot for those water temperatures. And remember, the loop current goes right on through here. Those currents in the ocean that transport water from one place to another take the temperatures and try to redistribute the heat from the atmosphere. And again, climate change is causing a big problem with this, in that we keep burning fossil fuels and the ocean keeps trying to absorb the heat. Notice the temperatures here from south of the Mississippi Delta down to western Florida. We're not talking 80s. If those temperatures are correct, especially right back up here around Tampa, St. Pete, we're talking about temperatures in the high 80s to low 90s. If that storm system, that next one, potential tropical cyclone number 4, rolls over that water, I shudder to think what might happen if conditions are correct. So once again, if you are heading toward the Panhandle or the rest of Florida, late vacation before school starts, anything like that, or even over toward New Orleans or Mobile, I would be very cautious about heading into this area in the next 48 to 72 hours because of the ugly conditions with winds. If this thing intensifies quickly, you do not want to be heading into an area where you're just going to have to turn back around and head back out again. And even with a tropical storm or a Category 1 hurricane, you may be thinking to yourself, and I've heard it from many people before, oh, it's only ... a tropical storm. It's only a Category 1 hurricane. How bad can it be? Well, if it's bad enough and it cuts off energy supplies, if it cuts off transportation, you may be stuck in wherever you're going to along the Florida coast or the Carolina coast for days, maybe a couple of weeks, depending on how things go. So if it was up to me, when those evacuation orders are issued, time to adhere to what the officials are telling you and get out of the way. This right here is incredibly worrisome and nothing to be messing around with. So as that storm gets closer, right now this is no place that I would want to be as that storm approaches. So, and to my wife's relatives down in Sarasota, I would pay very close attention to what is heading your direction very soon. So something to think about there. Again, for tonight, we don't have anything that also is not expected to be causing us any problems per se. If it veers a little farther to the west toward the panhandle of Florida, maybe it could be giving us some problems with more rainfall, but the computer models do not seem to be holding on to that at this point, so we do not have anything like that occurring so far. So definitely some good news on that, but definitely something to watch out for. All right, for this weekend, some fun stuff. Again, weather permitting on this, the Barnard Astronomical Society will be holding their next star party at Cloudland Canyon Disc Golf Area in Rising Fawn, Georgia. Totally free, totally open to the public. Your opportunity to come and watch it through binoculars and telescopes. You don't need to bring your own equipment. If you've got a young astronomer up and coming who maybe would like a spotting scope, a telescope of some sort to look through with the holiday gift giving season coming up, the folks at Barnard Astronomy, the experts locally about what type of equipment you can use. And then in January, they will hold a meeting. It's their annual How to Use Your New Telescope meeting. And you can show up there and they will calibrate it for you. They'll help you get used to using it. You just need to bring the instruction book with you, but that's coming up later. This should be some fun events to take a look at again as we go into the weekend. And so far, the good news is it looks like about the time sunset happens on Saturday evening, skies will be partly cloudy at sunset, but then clearing out. So hopefully this will be a good, decently clear view. What are they going to look at? Go to their website. They'll tell you more about what the targets may be. I think the moon is going toward new at this point. It's waning crescent, so it rises very early in the morning, very close to sunrise, so moonlight should not be a problem. So hopefully, if the conditions are good, if seeing conditions are good, you should be able to have a fun time here. And again, that's barnardastronomy.org if you'd like to find out more about that. And thanks to the folks at Barnard Astronomical Society for putting on this show and introducing folks to, again, these wonderful bits of science out there. Let me see. That's not going to work because we forgot to do that particular one. So let me replace that with the 7-day forecast. Thank you very much. Being a Kansan, this is very near and dear to my heart. A field of sunflowers at Nightfall Acres. Thank you very much, News 12 viewer and photographer Jessica Downs from Athens. That's our Langley Roofing weather window picture of the day. If you've got pictures, again, we would love to see them and show them, so go ahead and send them in to us at pictures@wdef.com. That's email. You can also go to our website or to our social media pages where you can send them in there. If you do send it in, please give us at least a description or a location of where you were. It doesn't have to be exact. It doesn't have to be your mailing address, but whatever you're doing with that picture. Some folks have sent us the picture, which we're very grateful for, no question, but with no data, it's kind of hard to tell people what you were looking at and where you were. If you want to be anonymous, that's fine, but just give us a location and a description if you would be so kind on that. We are getting a little bit behind here, so we're going to have to wrap things up as we have the 11 o'clock news coming up pretty soon. Yesterday, we talked about the National Weather Service's program called Weather Ready Nation, or WRN, and what they actually do. The participants are called ambassadors, and this helps groups stay up to date with what's going on with severe weather. They know about severe weather, they know what to look for, they know what to put into practice when severe weather happens, they know about informing all levels of their particular group to make certain that everybody is paying attention. So which group can apply to become a National Weather Service Weather Ready Nation ambassador? Well, again, this one was kind of a gimme. It's everybody here. It's for-profit businesses. It's nonprofit organizations. It's all levels of academia. It's all levels of government. If you want to find out more, you can go to noaa.gov and find out. That's NOAA.gov, and you can find out more about the Weather Ready Network and how your business, nonprofit, academic group can enjoy the benefits of getting the training from the National Weather Service and passing that along to all of your employees, your volunteers, anybody who's in your group. That right there is one of the best things you can do. Thank you very much, friendinroofing.com, for being our weather poll sponsor of the day. We'll have another poll going up at midnight, so you can watch that and vote throughout the course of the rest of the weekend. And keep it tuned to News 12 again for more on what's going on out there when it comes to our weather polls and everything else. All right, so not exactly as blazing hot this weekend. That Pooch has the right idea. But again, next week it's going to be getting pretty doggone hot once again and humid. So not much to show you in the way of hope for any crisp, cool, autumn-like weather out there. We're probably still a good 2 months away from that. And you don't know how frustrating it is to tell you that. So through the rest of the weekend, keep it tuned to News 12. We'll have updates on Saturday and Sunday night at 11 o'clock if you want to watch on air. Our website, wdef.com/weather. If you have questions about weather overtime or anything going on at the station that I can help you with, email address at the bottom of your screen at aonic@wdef.com. And again, check out more on the website at wdef.com/weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Onig. This has been the foreshortened Friday edition of News 12's exclusive video weather blog, Weather Overtime. We'll have more through the weekend online and on air, and I'll be back with you again on Monday evening. Chip Chapman will be back bright and early on Monday morning, starting at 5 a.m., so join him for a complete forecast update. Please have a cool, safe, enjoyable weekend. Let's all be careful out there, and I'll see you again coming up on Monday. Thanks for joining us for Weather Overtime for Friday, August 2nd.